Of course, the first WWE show of 2026 was WWE SmackDown, and it is officially 3 hours. If you've watched my videos before, you know I do not like 3-hour SmackDowns or any 3-hour wrestling show. I think it's just far too much content or far too much for your brain, and it just gets a bit boring. However, if WWE can keep up the same energy as they did last night, it will be okay. Now, that's next to impossible over a 52-week period. However, I'm a positive guy. We shall believe. Let's get into it, and please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Thank you to everyone that signed up to patreon.com/Simon316 over the holidays for my watch-alongs. From Monday, we are going to do one a day. That didn't make sense. We're doing one a day from Monday. My brain can't handle this because you wanted it, and I'll give you anything you want. But for now, let's talk about a bunch of new people on SmackDown. Now, we can probably start with Randy Orton, who has finally returned to SmackDown. No idea where he went. He vanished off the face of the planet, and nobody told us. Maybe we'll get into it. But after he dropped The Miz with the RKO, which was just a very easy way to get him back on TV, with a quick step in backstage, we bumped into Cody Rhodes. Like, Cody, I like you so much. However, I am coming for that World Championship. Now, he has kind of hinted at this before, and we were doing heelish stuff all the way back in 2024 where he would look at that gold. It's an interesting time to pull the trigger. If you've been watching my content for a while, you know this is one of my most anticipated feuds. I thought it should peak at WrestleMania. But to do it now, you can look at it two ways. One, I don't think Drew McIntyre is going to beat Cody Rhodes. We'll talk about that in just 1 second. So Cody is going to need a feud from now to WrestleMania. But I always kind of thought if he did it in the right way, Cody and Randy could have been a WrestleMania match. But on top of that, I always thought when Randy and Cody got into it, especially because I presume Randy Orton will turn heel, he should at least win the championship once. Now, WrestleMania is in mid-April. We are on January the 3rd as I'm talking to you. So there probably is still time. But let's say it is going to be Cody versus Roman Part 3, which is heavily rumored. We do not know. I would presume that Roman would win that, and then he's the champ. And then again, he's not going to have a full-time schedule. I don't know. Certainly interesting to talk about, and it certainly does create intrigue, which I think all wrestling programs need. Ultimately, it's a good thing, though, and that kind of ties into this idea of SmackDown being in a new era, because I do think at least once within the next however long, Cody Rhodes can drop that title, right? He's super over now. People love him. Any of this anticipated backlash that always comes up every single time he has a feud with anybody, it never rears his head properly. I mean, maybe against the John Cena stuff that we did, but even then that was more about John Cena than it was about Cody. Ultimately, deep down in their tum-tums, people like Cody Rhodes, and while I thought that Drew McIntyre should be this guy, if Randy Orton is next, I think Randy, well, you can argue it both ways. It just feels to me, given all the stuff we have done with Drew, that Randy Orton would actually be the guy to take the belt off Cody, and then Cody can win it back at the Elimination Chamber or whatever the flub's happening in March. I can't remember, but it was good, and having Randy Orton back on the show, especially when it's 3 hours long, is a massive plus, because if you are going to have a show go for 180 minutes, you need as much star power as possible. If you go back and look at some of the negative SmackDown reviews that we gave at the end of 2025, it's because it was lacking in star power. Still some amazing matches and still some amazing wrestlers, but for whatever reason, be it time spent in the company or just certain magic that some people have, they just sit on top of the tree, and you absolutely have to make sure that when you tune into an episode of SmackDown, you have all of them. So yes, Randy Orton kills The Miz. Maybe they'll do a match, maybe they won't. Ultimately, we need to get through next week's episode of SmackDown with the 3 stages of hell. I presume it'll be Cody Rhodes as the champion, and then we get into it with Randy, and if they are going to cut the kind of promos that they should cut, Randy Orton needs to be the heel. It's very interesting. We wait and see. But it also does tie into the Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre stuff. Now, Drew McIntyre has been on fire these last couple of weeks. What an asshole he's become. On last night's episode of SmackDown, he burned a picture of Dusty Rhodes. I can't help it. My brain just does this to me. I was like, Cody, just print out another picture, man. It's 2026. But it's about the sentimentality of the thing. Massive down shout to the useless wrestling security guards that stop Cody. Focus on the man in the ring, playing with fire. But what are you going to do? But it worked. And Drew McIntyre now comes across like such a bad person. This is why he can't win the world title. You can't say that Dusty Rhodes is in hell, which is what Drew McIntyre said last week. And you can't burn a nice picture and then win the world title. I don't think anyway. Not knowing that Randy Orton is just around the corner, I suppose you could argue that Drew McIntyre does win, and then Cody versus Randy is for the #1 contendership, and that's when Randy goes heel. But then Randy can't win that, because if Randy Orton goes heel, you can't do Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre heel versus heel. I don't think that works, even more so, because in the latter part of 2025, well, even in the summer, we saw Drew versus Randy a lot. But it is going to be 3 stages of hell on free television, which is pretty damn cool. Not really free. I have to pay for Netflix to see it. But stage 1 is going to be a normal match. Stage 2 is a Falls Count Anywhere match. match, and stage 3 is a Hell in a Cell match. No, it's not. It's a steel cage match. It's exactly what Steve Austin and Triple H did back in 2001, who's booking the show, and it will work, man. We've only seen three stages of Hell. One was Triple H, one Shawn Michaels, one was Triple H and Austin. Maybe there was another one. There was one on NXT, I believe, and my brain is failing me. But the point is, they do feel special because we haven't overdone them. Drew McIntyre has been so awful in the build-up. I can't see Cody Rhodes losing. I think Drew McIntyre will win the first match, the first fall, then Cody won the second one. We'll definitely get to that cage. Imagine Drew McIntyre loses 0-2. People will be so damn mad. But I just don't know what you do with Drew McIntyre after this. Like, I did a social media post, I think we talked about it, where I said you could quite easily put the belt on Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes winning it back at the Rumble, which you could still do. But with Randy Orton just around the corner, I think he should do that. But then you could argue that Randy Orton is more of a legendary star than Drew, which he just is for time served, if nothing else. So actually it would benefit McIntyre more, but then you also take something away from the Randy Orton feud. This is what I mean about the timing of the thing. And maybe WWE has something else in their heads that I haven't seen right now. But Drew McIntyre has done great work. So even if he does lose, WWE has to have something massive for him on the other side, and something massive for him in WrestleMania. Of course, he would want to be the world champion, but there are ways and means to keep somebody at the tippity top of the card without the title being involved. This is never going to happen. This is just me pulling a crazy over-the-top example out of my ass. If all of a sudden it was Drew McIntyre versus The Undertaker coming back and Drew McIntyre beat him, people would see that as a huge deal. The Undertaker should not come back. That's not what I'm saying. But I mean, you can bring people in. Are there any other rumors that are going around or anything like that? I don't think so. Drew McIntyre just needs a massive victory because he was great last week. Controversial, you could say. But on this week's show especially, he just felt like a tyrant. And you could understand Cody Rhodes being mad and why he would want to punch Drew McIntyre, but of course he can't because everybody has just gone, Drew will do whatever you tell us to do, and he got the stipulation that Drew cannot touch him, Cody cannot touch Drew, otherwise lose the championship. So it is a good feud, and it does certainly have the blood element to it, which allows them to have the 3 stages of Hell match. But with Randy Orton hanging over the top, I guess it has created more intrigue, especially given Drew's actions has kind of told me that he's not going to win the belt, but maybe it's a trick. Maybe we're using wrestling tropes for that reason, but we wait and see. It was still good, and now that we are throwing a bunch of other people on SmackDown, it does elevate it, because you don't want the only good thing on the show to be Cody versus Drew. You want that to filter through the show, which is essentially what we did. Because we basically told you without telling you that Jordynne Grace is there. Now, she had interactions with Chelsea Green, she had interactions with Julia, she had interactions with Jade Cargill. All of these matches would be good, especially that women's title scene with Jade Cargill. We didn't get the Meechin match because Meechin is injured. I hope she's okay. That always sucks. You never want that. But, well, there's so much to talk about here. Julia beat Chelsea Green. The match had no heat, to use those words whatsoever. It is not their fault. Actually, Chelsea Green was more of a babyface. That is the way that WWE has booked this US title. However, if we go back to this new era thing, Julia winning that belt hit the reset button with it, right? That's when we can start building it up again. Her first run meant nothing, and once again, that's not on her. Chelsea Green's going to be fine regardless because she's so entertaining. We've seen what Julia and Jordynne Grace can do in NXT. Just repeat that on the main roster and on pay-per-views, PLEs, and you'll be there, right? Let them cut promos, do all of that. If you want to do a Jade Cargill, Jordynne Grace match as well, that's totally fine, because again, that will be awesome as well. So I like all of this, and I like the title change, as long as it's followed up on. But as well as that, you had Trick Williams interrupting Sami Zayn. So straight away, I was like, man, this is the absolute best. Trick Williams was his over-the-top heel self, called himself the sexiest wrestler on the roster, said he wants to go for the world title, which was doubly interesting, because Sami Zayn had just said over Christmas, his kid had asked him, why is John Cena a 17-time champion, and you've got none, Dad? So his Christmas absolutely sucked, but it just reminded Sami Zayn, as he told us in 2025, 2026 needs to be his year, and he has to win that world championship. Now, this works on 2 levels. One, Trick Williams could win a mid-card title, it'd be fine, but he's told us his goal is to win the world title. So if you're not familiar with Trick Williams, and you just listen to the commentators telling you he's NXT guy, instantly you know this is a main event dude, right? He can cut a main event promo as he did here, and he just told you, nice and simple, I'm going for the world championship. Everybody loves Sami Zayn, so now he's going after the world championship. And obviously there's Randy Orton too. So we've done that awesome thing when Cody Rhodes, if he should retain against Drew McIntyre, knows he has multiple targets on his back. You always want to do that. Don't have to pull the trigger now, but you absolutely have to get there eventually. Trick Williams should be the world champion within 2 years tops, right? He really, really should. He's got all the tools in his toolbox. Some people go, yeah, but his in-ring's not as good as this guy. I don't care. Not everybody needs to be amazing in the ring. You can just have, I don't call them passable matches, but you can have matches that work for you and the audience still connect to. I understand there's this template now for what is a banger match, but people should bring in their own unique element, their own unique abilities. I think Trick Williams over the last few years has proved that. We will get eventually to a Sami Zayn Trick Williams match, which is super interesting because neither of them should lose. So one of them should lose, and that should tie into their story. And next week, poor Ray Phoenix is going to be told, listen, you go out there and have a great match, but you got to put Trick Williams over. But somebody's got to do it. Phoenix is super duper talented, although that's probably the antithesis to everything we're talking about today. I don't know what he's going to do, but I felt like we were going to put the Lucha Brothers back together, and now it's Ray and Penta. We were going to do it in AAA, so we can wait and see. Whether or not Phoenix's move to WWE has been a net positive, I will leave you to decide. I think AEW likely would have pushed him harder, but it is what it is, and I'm sure he's earning a bucket load of money. But the Trick Williams thing is good. The Jordan Grace thing is good. And we keep getting Obafemi videos, so I presume he will be on SmackDown, and there ain't no way, listen, if you win an IC title, awesome. If you win a US title, awesome. Obafemi is a world title guy. Doesn't have to win it on his first attempt, but he has to win it, and he has to hold it at least for 7,692 days. Anything else will be bad, and actually that's a minor criticism that I do have. I would have done the same for Trick Williams. I would have done the same for Jordan Grace. I would have had big videos or over-the-top promos. It's awesome that Oba is getting them, but just people turning up backstage, I hate using the word lame, felt a little bit lame. And there was also another surprise on this show, which I didn't see reported anywhere. So hell yeah to whoever kept that quiet. But not Zack Ryder is back in WWE, but Matt Cardona actually, I suppose, debuted for World Wrestling Entertainment. He was taking on Kit Wilson, who also has a very, very funny new Titantron. He's obviously going on about his toxic masculinity stuff. He had a mystery opponent. I just think this is such a cool story. Whether you like Zack Ryder or Matt Cardona or whatever, he got fired like 5 years ago, went on the indie scene, which I don't think anybody expected, totally owned that space. Without wanting to pull the curtain back too much, he helped a lot of people. I'm sure those stories will come out eventually. He said one day he would return to WWE, but only as Matt Cardona. And he's done it. I just think it's so damn inspiring. I think he fits in to a 3-hour SmackDown perfectly. He's a guy you can use in any position and he will make it work. He wants to be there, so he's absolutely going to bust his ass. I just think it goes to, it's just a nice reminder to bet on yourself and believe in yourself. And if you have a goal, you have a dream. Don't let negative Nancy's talk you down, because a lot of people did do that to Matt Cardona, called him a mark and all those stupid words. What's wrong with being a fan? He beats Kit Wilson, and that's totally fine. Kit Wilson's in that role where he's just going to be an entertaining character that loses. But how many times have we seen people make a career out of that? So good for that guy. I love him too. It wasn't on my radar. I thought it was fantastic. He did make me feel warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum. And I've had a few interactions with Matt Cardona, I can tell you, and I'm sure he doesn't want me to. Nice dude, totally gets it, always wants to put other people over. And yeah, it should just be a nice reminder to everybody that no matter what you want to do, or how old you are, or what other people are telling you, just keep aiming towards that goal. Just let's use Matt Cardona's term, always be ready. I screwed it up. We also had the main event between Aleister Black and Damian Priest that for no reason was an ambulance match. Very much enjoyed Rhea Ripley hiding in the back of the ambulance to take out Zelina Vega. That justified the entire stipulation to me. We just need to leave it now, right? I really like Aleister Black and I really like Damian Priest. And this match, in terms of what they did, they deserve all the plaudits in the world. It was pretty damn good and they whooped each other's ass. Damian Priest launched a fireball into Aleister Black's face, so he's got his revenge. But the feud, and again, it's not on them, it just was way too long, but it hasn't benefited either of them. Damian Priest doesn't feel like a bigger star afterwards, neither does Aleister Black. And I kind of think that's probably because when they put these two together, they didn't actually have an end point, which is why it was so elongated and why we arrived on the 2nd of January SmackDown and we had an ambulance match after we'd already done a Falls Count Anywhere match, was it? When we had the first fireball. They were able to keep it at a certain level because I do think they have a connection with the fans, especially Damian Priest, given what he did in 2024 and the relationship he has with Rhea Ripley. Just leave it now. Don't go back to it. This has to be the end. But that's it. Who feels like they're in a better position because of it? And I would argue they're in exactly the same place. They did that thing where you're at your front door at home and you Google map to your house. What did you achieve? Absolutely nothing. Still good TV and still very, very fun to watch. I mean, I like the fact it was in the main event. I thought it was definitely the right match at the end of a 3-hour show because you knew you were going to get the shenanigans and the over-the-top stuff. We got a razor's edge into the windscreen. And then when Damian Priest had all the doors closed. Before he closed the last one, he went, yeah. I was like, just close the door, dude. He's going to pop out of there. You're taking too long. But this is something that SmackDown absolutely needs to sort out, because it's the same with the Wyatts versus the MFT. Soda was all like, oh man, we're going to have an 8-man tag next week, and then we're going to win the tag team titles the week after that. I was like, 2 more weeks of this, it's not going anywhere. It's not doing anything. I would scrap the 8-man tag, and I would go right into the normal tag and either change the titles or don't. But right now, the women's tag team division is way better than the men's. We had the 8-woman tag here that was, who the flub was it? Rhea, Io, Charlotte, Alexa, taking on, why am I talking like a robot? Taking on the Kabuki Warriors, Nia Jax and Lash Legend. It was Rhea and Io got the pin on Kairi Sane, so they're probably not going to win the tag team titles. But you have Lash and Nia saying, well, we want a championship shot. You had Charlotte and Alexa talking about this too. Whereas the Wyatts don't really do anything. And listen, the Usos winning the Raw Tag Team Championships could absolutely sort out that scene. But there's so much potential there, and I'm excited about it. And we really bigged up the fact that Rhea and Io are going after the championships on Monday. I suppose the outlier to this is Carmelo Hayes, who is the brand new US champion, because that dude doing great. Now, we didn't talk about this last week, so I wasn't able to do a SmackDown episode because I was literally in the air, so what could I do? But he won the US Championship, and it was awesome. Here he took on Johnny Gargano, essentially to draw a line under the DIY stuff. It was awesome. It was a great match. Hayes basically told Ilya Dragunov before this he will start doing the US Challenge again. But this also ties into the new era thing, because I think Ilya Dragunov could fit into that. Carmelo Hayes absolutely does now. People have been in his corner all of 2025. So to end the year and start the year off in this way really puts some power in his feet, whatever that means. Trick Williams, already talked about him. Obafemi will be there soon, obviously one of the best. Jordan Grace is the same. There's other people we can call up as well. So even Julia, hitting reset on her and actually treating her right in 2026 means that will feel fresh as well. Sami Zayn going after a world title, I think ties into legacy stuff. Matt Cardona being back also has that, has some nostalgia to it. Randy Orton being back, one of the biggest stars WWE's ever had. So there is a lot going for SmackDown at the moment. Cody versus Drew, a proper blood feud that should have a payoff, but you have to carry this on. And you can't just call people up every single week. That won't work. It will become boring. But at the moment, the seeds they have planted, I'm quietly confident. Again, I don't like 3-hour shows. I think they're too long. I think you should be able to achieve everything you do achieve in 2 hours, or at least 2.5. You're talking about Raw. That's why the Miz's promo at the start of the show was so long, because it could be. And of course, the Miz knows how to cut a promo. I just think sometimes less is more. But this is the first time that WWE has been all like, oh man, we're going to start a new era. I'm like, yeah, sure you are. And I watched it and I was like, all right, maybe this is the case. Like, if Trick Williams, by the end of the year, is fighting for the world title, and Obafemi is there as well, and Carmelo Hayes has increased his stock, and Ilya Dragunov still having crazy matches, and Jordan Grace has finally been established, as she should have done months ago, it will all be good. And it's the same with Julia. You can do stuff with Chelsea Green. There are entertaining characters on the show. You just need to make sure you put them in good scenarios. Like Aleister Black, people love that guy, especially when he's presented in the right way. And Damian Priest was super duper over in 2024, so let's not pretend that we can't do it again. So in terms of this episode of SmackDown, it's a massive tick to me. I'm certainly intrigued to see what we can do next week. It's the 3 stages of hell, so we're going to get to mid-January and we're going to be fine. Now, as always, I would love to know what you thought about this episode of SmackDown. I haven't really seen much online about it, so I don't know what the buzz is. But I feel like WWE has come out the gate strong in 2026, which is what you want. When you are mucking around down there, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. You can also click the video on the screen to get my thoughts on Monday Night Raw. Otherwise, it's Simon316 to come tell me directly I'm an idiot on social media, and it is grillermind.com/Simon. And use the code Simon to get 10% off all fitness supplements there. They're the best. And look, it's January, right? I'm sure you're getting into the groove with your fitness plans. These will help you, I promise. Otherwise, I wouldn't promote them. Otherwise, come find me on Cameo, TikTok, and Pro Wrestling Tees. You can buy stupid t-shirts, much like that. Shouldn't have pulled that over my face. But Happy New Year, my friends. Thank you so much, as we talked about the video the other day, for supporting me for another 12 months. We're going to try and do it again. I don't take that for granted, because sometimes YouTube will absolutely wreck you, as it happened to a lot of my videos over the holiday season. So it's terrifying, but within that is also goodness. Don't know what that means. Goodbye.